Space yourselves out. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Osceola County stop on the AFT bus tour, Get Out the Vote tour. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for participating in this thing we call democracy. My name is Larry Allen. I'm the president of the Osceola County Education Association. And right now, I'm just happy to be alive. I'm happy to see all you people. So let's get this thing started. I do not see that person, so we're going to start right here. And I'd like to introduce you to Miss Felicia Smith and Miss Barb Gleason. Felicia Smith is the Osceola County Education Association ESP Vice President, brand new on the job, and Barb Gleason is the Chief Negotiator for the ESPs. I'll go this way.
Yep, sorry.
Just talk, there we go, that's better. Recently, our great president, Larry Allen, said something, and I know this is on Facebook and everywhere, but he had said this, and these words have just kind of stuck with me. It's not about party, but it's about our profession. So you may ask, what is an education staff professional? And I Googled it. And it said they, yes, they, provide instruction and academic support, challenging and motivating students by maintaining high expectations. So, kind of broad, we all fall under that. But in our union at OCEA, our category of education staff professionals covers many, many families. And we have us divided kind of in career families, but we have our paraprofessionals, which are our classroom assistants, pre-K through 12, our ESE assistants, Carol, our ESOL assistants, our and our computer lab assistants, and many more. Then we have the health and safety services, our nurses, our health aides, our safety specialists, our behavior specialists, and so on that fall under that. We have our wonderful clerical, where Felicia and I fall. We have our bookkeepers, we have our data records clerk, we have our receptionists, we have attendance clerks, and many, many office workers. And we have our information technology services. Is Omar here today? Like our wonderful Omar that serves on our bargaining committee. And that's our computer techs, our IS people, IT, computer support. Hear them out there? Yeah. So believe it or not, overall, approximately 25% of the employees hired by the District of Osceola County fall into one of these families. And just a quick note, that does not include bus drivers, custodians, and cafeteria workers because they fall under a different union. But we consider them our brothers and sisters. But we do know for a fact that too many education support or staff professionals earn below poverty level wages. And some ESPs work 2 or even 3 jobs just to make ends meet with our cost of living raises. Like our teachers, too many things are unfairly being forced upon educators, not to mention the undermining of school funding. This is why we need to work together and to make our voices heard, not only locally, not only statewide, but nationally. Take it away, Felicia.
Good afternoon. Only being on the job since July 1st.
We're still going to, I have something else.
I have learned a lot about the school district.
We're still finishing.
Unfair.
So give me just
I have ESPs at my school personally that make $10 or less an hour. That is not a living wage for us. I have had difficulty in even reaching out to them because I don't know if a lot of you know in the schools, They don't have access to a computer for their emails or even to a telephone so that I can call them. When we proposed a $1 increase, we were looking at possibly Amendment 2 passing, and we were going to eventually get to that $15 an hour. Of course, they said no. They offered 50. We then retracted to 50. 50 cents is not going to get an ESP that's making $10 an hour to a living wage. We need to help ourselves. We need to figure out who the persons are that we're voting for, if they're for us or not. We need to support who is going to support us. Please, everyone, encourage everyone to vote for the things that are going to be for us, especially the ESPs, which are having a very difficult time now trying to get a cost of living increase. Thank you.
So just to wrap up about our education support staff and how wonderful they are, because we were told if we could do something other than money, what would we look for? So we surveyed our ESPs, and they said, the question was, other than salaries, what issues would you like to see negotiated? They said safety and a reopening plan, which is almost a moot point, and we haven't agreed on a reopening plan. Lower family health care costs, and other duties as assigned. That rounded up our top 3. And I'm sure this sounds familiar at a lot of locals. But needless to say, our ESPs are feeling overworked, underpaid, and invisible. This recent school board may make you feel unappreciated, devalued, and even disposable. While these board members are busy patting themselves on the back with their kudos and all that, how easily they forget about those that are in direct contact with our students, with our parents, and with our community. In many cases, our ESPs, our education support professionals, may be the first and the last staff member that students see on a daily basis. And every school day, they're helping to meet the needs of the whole student. So remember, it's not about party, it's about our profession. Make sure you get out and vote for those that are public school friendly candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb and Felicia, for those enlightening words, painting a better picture of what our people do every day, the miracles they work. And speaking of Friends of Education, we have Congressman Darren Soto and Senator Victor Torres.
Osceola educators, how are we doing? Let me start by saying we love our Osceola educators and education personnel and AFT and NEA so much. I married an Osceola Classroom Teachers Association member, one of your union sisters, my wife Amanda. Let's give it up for the union around here. We know America is hurting, but so much so our students, our schools, and our teachers and our education personnel are hurting. But we're going to make a change by this November 3rd. Isn't that right, teachers? I stood with Laird only a few months ago, prodding, pushing, hoping to pass a final HEROES Act out. We know our schools need money. We know that our teachers need the funding to reopen safely, and that shouldn't be from the top down. That shouldn't be from Washington. It shouldn't be from Tallahassee. It should be each local school district making that decision. Is that a local decision or what, Osceola teachers? Let me hear you. Thank you for being miracle workers. That's what you're asked to do every day. Thank you for teaching our kids. Thank you for preparing our future. But we can do better. Isn't that right, Osceola educators? We can elect champions of education, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as the next president, vice president of the United States. Let me hear you, Osceola educators. And we know we have to raise the wages. We know we have to actually have a coronavirus response that crushes the virus, like our speaker, Nancy Pelosi, has talked about, like Joe Biden has talked about. But you see Trump saying they can't control it. They're going to give up. We don't give up. Isn't that right, Osceola educators? We do not give up. And Florida is critical. We know we're neck and neck. It's going to come down to every vote, which is why you all, I know, have already voted, right? Raise your hand if you voted. All right, thank you. And you're going to volunteer to get out the rest of the vote. It could come down to 0.1% like it did in 2018. So we have to give it everything we got. And your national leaders know this. We don't have Randy Weingarten here because Central Florida is not important. It's because it is essential. Let me hear you, Osceola educators. Are you ready? Are you ready to volunteer and change America? I just want to end by saying, I want everybody to think about our experiences over the last 4 years. All the folks that Donald Trump hurt, the people that you know that we lost, those who got sick, those teachers who have to choose between teaching in the classroom and distance learning, those students who would be so much better in school if it were safe. This didn't have to happen. We could have had a competent president who could handle this. We have a responsibility to our fellow teachers, educators, to families, and especially to our kids to right the track, to go forward and have a new leader who will lead us back from the pandemic, raise wages, bring America back and build back better. That's Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Let me hear you one more time, Osceola educators. We can do this if we give it everything we have. Thank you, everybody. It's an honor to represent you.
Since this is fluid and we're all friends of education, she doesn't have the mic. I'd like to introduce Johanna Lopez of Voces, Unidas de la Educación. I don't know if I said it right, but she's all about public education and informing our parents so they can do the best for their students.
Thank you, thank you. You know what, I'm here because I know that you know the challenges that we already faced during this administration. The families, the teachers, the bus drivers, the counselors, the janitors, and it is time for a change. I believe that we have to speak about this at every corner in our state and in our nation. And we have to speak in different languages as well, and I want to take this opportunity to say it in Spanish because this is why I have Voces Unidas, because we need to speak to our community, to the Latinx community, about the importance of voting. It is very important for us that they vote and they make a change and they make history to take Kamala Harris and also Joe Biden to the White House. Así que a mi comunidad latina les quiero decir, es tiempo de un cambio. Ustedes saben los retos que hemos tenido, nuestros choferes, nuestros conserjes, nuestros maestros, nuestras familias están sufriendo la irresponsabilidad de no salvar nuestras vidas y de no tomar las acciones indicadas. La manipulación también a través de órdenes ejecutivas para que a nivel local no podamos tomar decisiones seguras para nuestra familia. I think that is very concerning as well, that the way the state and the nation manipulate the local decisions with the school board, it wasn't fair. I received emails from teachers talking about their experiences, ADA accommodations. Do you believe that we really have ADA accommodations? No, we don't have ADA accommodations because having a leave of absence without pay is not an accommodation. So, las acomodaciones que también se hicieron fueron injustas, las manipulaciones a través de órdenes ejecutivas fueron injustas, así que tenemos que hacer un cambio y el cambio es con Kamala Harris y con Joe Biden. We are here to make a difference and to spread out the word for what is right for this nation, and it is time to make a change. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Johanna. I don't know if Senator Torres knows this, but every time I get a chance to go visit him in Tallahassee, it's sort of like going to visit your grand uncle's house. It's just a feeling of peace when you walk in that office because you know this is a friend of education. So without further ado, thank you for showing up. Mr. Torres.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor being here in front of you. Supported my 8 years up in Tallahassee on the public school teachers. 8 years fighting for you, making sure that you're heard, making sure your salaries, your background, everything. I want to take a moment to recognize Delores Macmillan, President of NAACP here. She's a strong fighter here in the community, strong fighter. I want to say all the unions that are here, AFT, CTA, NEA, FEA, you name them, you have them. The bottom line is you need to get out and vote. The bottom line is I was a bus driver in Marion County for 10 years. I drove a school bus. I seen what our children go through. I seen what our teachers go through. I seen the lack of support for our schools. When they were told to harden our school classrooms, they said, we can't afford it. When I told them, hire more SROs for our schools, this is years ago, they told me, we don't have the money. Parkland happened. Parkland happened. Tragedy. The loss of lives, 17. It shouldn't have happened, folks. It shouldn't have happened. You know why? Those responsible in Tallahassee, those who neglected, those who turned us away, those who said we don't have enough funds. Well, guess what? When they had the funds, then they decided what they were going to do with those funds. You know? This is it. This is our election. This is your election. I don't need, well, anyway. Telling you, this is our way of changing the votes. We need to vote for Biden and Harris. We need to vote for local candidates that are going to do the job. That's the bottom line. Do the job. Don't just say words. Don't make promises. You can't make promises if you don't control the budget. And that's what's going to happen up in Tallahassee. The money. You know, money talks, and you know what walks. All right? So thank you again for being here. I support you 100%.
Thank you, Senator Torres. Up next, we have Ms. Delores Macmillan, President of the Osceola NAACP, and my big cousin.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Florida. Good afternoon, Osceola County. I'm one of the old schoolers. I started out education in 1965. That was during the year of segregation, years of segregation. And when I married my college sweetheart, he lived in Kissimmee, and the only all-black school they had in Kissimmee was Kissimmee High School. And that staff was full. So I had to go to Orlando to get a job at Carver Junior High. And when mandated for segregation came about in 1968-69, I moved to Osceola County. It was mandated that the schools are integrated. So the principal at St. Cloud High School called me. And I integrated St. Cloud High School in 1969, the first black teacher there. I retired after 38 years. I've taught many families in Osceola County. I am a household name, Delores Macmillan. Everyone knows that I will get on their calls, get out of line, but they respected me because I was sincere and I cared about them. Because teachers, students don't care about how much you know. They care about how much you care. And you caring about students, you can get them to do anything that you want them to do, and they will work for you. 4 more days. 4 more days. NAACP says, vote, our lives depend on it. Black lives depend on voting this election. You have a button in your bag, Black Lives Matters. It's a plea to secure the rights and life and liberty and pursuit of happiness for all Americans, which includes Black Americans. That being said, Black votes matter. Black votes matter. And if our votes didn't count, not just Black votes, but Democrat votes, if they didn't count, they wouldn't work so hard to suppress our votes. So our votes matter. Equality is on the ballot. Respect is on the ballot. Criminal justice is on the ballot. An end to systemic racism is on the ballot. And above all, democracy is on the ballot. Affordable health care and education are on the ballot. Black the vote. Black, B-L-A-C-K, Black the vote. Black voices change lives. There is power in the Black vote. Our voices are our votes. There is nothing more impactful than this when a community comes together for a common cause. And that common cause right now is democracy and decency. We've seen so much disrespect in the president's office until we don't recognize that position anymore. It's not bringing dignity to the presidential position. Democracy is the soul of our country, and we want to bring the soul of our country back. And the mission of the NAACP is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of all persons to eliminate racial discrimination. We are dedicated to eliminating the severe racial inequalities to continue this plague that plagues our education system. Wake up, Florida. Wake up, Osceola County. Vote. Our lives depend on it. We must continue the fight. We must continue to fight for Black lives. We have 4 more days. We must continue to fight for our children, fight for our teachers. Thank you. And before I leave, I'd like to introduce the officers. The NAACP is present here. Clinton Williams is the first vice president. Ann Jones is the secretary. Ann Tyler is our community relations chair. We thank you for inviting us, and you do have our support. And as an educator, I am committed to educating our children and educating the community in Florida as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Macmillan. Up next, we have my former Florida Education Association president and now the current AFT Secretary Treasurer, Fed Ingram.
Hey, hey. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. Osceola in the house? Osceola in the house? Fired up. Fired up. Fired up. Fired up. I'm going to say, I believe. You can say we can win. I believe. 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 We can win. Give it up for yourselves and Larry Allen and the Osceola CTA. Man, listen, I'm so glad to be home. Y'all just don't know. Okay, let me just describe to y'all what I've been through for the last 30 days. Okay, this woman, our leader right here, she is a fantastic woman, but she is crazy. She came 6 weeks ago. She said, hey, we're going to do a bus tour. So you know what Fed did. Okay, fine. We'll do a bus tour. We'll do a city, a state, what have you. No, we're going to do a national bus tour. We're going to start in Los Angeles 30 days ago. And we're going to cart ourselves around 14 states and any number of meet and greets and rallies and protests and rep meetings and just meeting people along the way. Because she is a woman ahead of her time. She knew that door knocking is the way. She knew that meeting people was along the way. She knew that hand building was the way to go. She knew that organizing one person at a time, meeting people, if not face to face, at least eye to eye, saying, hey, we can do this. We can win because public education is in the balance. Let's give it up for Randy Weingarten, our president. And so I want to pay tribute to Ms. Delores, along with the rest of the retirees that are here. Because let's give them all a big round of applause. So we have some retirees from UFT, New York City, who, listen, I have the worst New York accent ever. I hate doing it, so I never do it, right? But Randy Weingarten is the former president of UFT in New York City, our largest local union in the nation, and I want to give credence to them. And I also want to give a shout out to one of my former reps from Miami. Therese is back there. Therese follows me on Facebook. I haven't seen Therese in person probably in about almost 10 years, but she is one of the most loyal union members I have ever seen. And her claim to fame is that she was a Dolphin cheerleader on the 72 team, I believe, right? That's right. That's right. And a great teacher, as a matter of fact. And if you ask her nicely, she'll do a cheer for you, okay? I want to give shouts out to all of our visiting locals. Brevard County is in the house. I see Orange County represented back there too. Did I miss anybody else? Anybody else here? Orange County, Osceola, Brevard. Marion County is in the house. I mention that because that's what solidarity looks like. In 4 days, all of the eyes of the nation are going to be looking at the I-4 corridor. That's you. Congressman knew it. Joanna knows it. Victor knows it. My good friends over here, they know it. And you know it. Every single person in America is going to be asking what's happening between Volusia and Pinellas and everywhere in between. You all will decide the next president of the United States of America. Now, let me give a quick side note to my Republican friends. Don't feel all funny. All I'm going to tell you is this. Somebody hired Betsy DeVos. Somebody hired Betsy DeVos, the worst Secretary of Education that America has ever seen. Not because she's Betsy DeVos, but she hates the very entity that she represents. How can you hate the entity that you represent? You try to defund public education. You try to give our money to other people. You try to make us for-profit junk businesses. You try to disadvantage teachers nationwide. You, Madam Secretary, have no national plan, who have my colleagues' lives in the balance every single day. And they are scared, they have anxiety, they don't know what's going on, and you, Secretary of Education, hired by Donald Trump, have given us no hope for the future, have given us nothing to stand on, no national plan at all. And that is why we need to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I want 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. All right, I'm gonna try not to blow this one out, okay? Listen, I'm gonna be 5 more minutes because I'm only the pre-show for the main event. This young lady you need to hear from, our president. But I'll tell you a few things, just a few more things. It's gonna be up to you. I know you voted, and I know this is the choir. And I know it's hard to hear this sometimes, but we need you to do some more. Because the numbers are way too close. The numbers are way too close. We're not making this up. There are stories last night in Politico. Everybody's talking about the numbers in Florida. They're talking about the I-4 corridor. They're talking about African-American numbers. They're talking about Hispanic numbers. We need more people to get to the polls, and it is not over until it's over. And we cannot give that up. We cannot cede any ground. We need you to get people where they can be. And so I'll end like this. I'll say this to you. Every parent brings us the best kid that they have. If they had another kid that was better, they might send that one. But they only send the one that they have. And we need to have everything that we have at our disposal to give every child the opportunity to be the best of themselves. We don't have that. In certain communities, you can tell who's going to fail by the community they live in. That's identified. It's identified through testing. This is not a democracy that it should be built on how well you can take a test. Because if some of us had to take a test, we might fail the very test we're trying to give to our 8th graders and our 10th graders. And that's not fair to them. And so as we build this new normal, because let me tell you something, this is going to be a new normal. Those people who say, I want to go back to normal, that life is over. You are not going to go to sleep tonight and wake up yesterday. That's over. We're going to have a new normal moving forward. And so I want you all to know that as we build this new normal, it can be better. You've heard this build back better. You've heard build back better. We've got to do that. That means something to our public education system. We need you all to insist that everyone you know, have them check, identify, make sure you see the little vote thing. See, you can't reprint that. Make sure that everybody's posting everything. Create some excitement around you because we got one shot. If you believe and you march in the Women's March, way back when, about 3 or 4 years ago, remember all of those people, the day after the inauguration, people got out in the street and they said, women matter. You've got to change that activism into action. We started a movement in Florida called March for Our Lives. Many of you have participated in some of those marches that our kids in Florida led all throughout the nation. If you believe that, you've got to turn that action into another action. If you believe that Black Lives Matter, and we've got a problem in our criminal justice system, that people can identify you, criminalize you on the basis of you having dark skin, then you've got to turn that into action. And the way that you turn that into action is you get your hind parts to the ballot box. If you believe that all students and all people are created equal, no matter who you love and how you look and where you come from and your station, if you believe that our democracy is at the precipice, if you believe that our democracy is being challenged in ways that are unimaginable, if you believe that honor and decency and justice and everything they used to teach me at Vacation Bible School is on the ballot, that if you believe that I can't turn on the television and tell my 15-year-old daughter to watch the President of the United States because that is a symbol of what we represent, then you've got to go vote. You've got to go vote. And you got to take 10 people with you. And you got to do what's necessary to uphold our democracy. Because when we fight, we win. When we fight,
Okay, I got power. I went to Osceola High School, and Randy Weingarten reminds me of Nancy Evers. She's another household name in Osceola County. Nancy Evers stood about this high, but nobody messed with Nancy Evers because she's the toughest teacher I ever met, and I love that woman. And so that's why she reminds me of Randy Weingarten. So next up, the AFT president, Randy Weingarten.
Thank you, Laura. And thank you to these amazing local leaders. I'm going to get to him in a minute. Thank you to look, you guys have a tough time up in Tally, and I really appreciate, Vic, what you're doing up there every single day, and really thank you. Johanna, I remember in 2018 when we did that car caravan, and there were a whole lot of people who didn't want you to be on that board because you represent and you speak truth to power. And it's so wonderful to see you every single day representing. Thank you, Johanna. And look, I spent a lot of time in Washington, these days by Zoom a lot. But when you hear the leadership of the Congress, they talk about your congressman all the time. You just, like Soto has become the name like Cher. They just say the name. Soto will do it. Soto will do it. And everybody knows what they're talking about, and everybody knows who your congressman is. It's more than just representing. It's the sense of the values that you bring with you, the energy, the sense of hope and aspiration, and I'm honored to be with you today and honored to call you our friend. I thank all the people from Osceola. I also thank all the people from all the other locals who Fed, thank God, has announced, because I would probably mispronounce everybody's name, so thank you, Fed. But I also want to just say and shout out the FEA officers. Andrew, Carol, Nandi. It's hard to be a leader in this moment because of the pain that we see each and every day. And it's not as if we would all wish that we had a magic wand and we could fix everything. And I'm glad that we also have some of our mates that are here and some of our allies like the NAACP, like Unidas, because it does take a community, it does take a village. So thank you so much for being here. We could not do our work without NAA and without Unidas. And frankly, I want to also shout out that my wife, she hates when I do this, but my wife, Rabbi Sharon Kleinbaum, I almost said man again, Rabbi Sharon, when I first introduced Sharon to Joe Biden years ago, we were together. I know what her last name is. I said, oh, Mr. Vice President, let me introduce you to Sharon Kleinman. I want to introduce you to Rabbi Sharon Kleinbaum, the rabbi of the largest LGBT congregation in the United States, who's here with me today. And I do that as well because faith is really important to many of us. And I'm sick and tired of the president being out there using faith as a tool to divide, as opposed to faith as a tool to pull together. So thank you for being here, and thank you for all the things you do each and every day. So you're right, Fed's right. He did kind of look like, really? We're really going to do that? And what the reason we are doing this is, look, all of us understand the risk of getting on a bus in the middle of COVID surging. We do not want to create a false impression that it's safe to do all this stuff. We're trying to be as safe as we can, and thus far, all the staff and everyone else, we've done it in a way to be really safe. And we've kept our distance, and we have lots of cars with us and things like that, and we've been very careful. But the reason we're doing it is because if this is the most consequential election of our lifetime, and we believe that it is, then and you know this, as activists, as educators, you got to walk the walk. People have to see that you're walking that walk, that you're taking that action. If you want people to follow us, then they have to see that we are not just talking about it, but we are doing everything we can. And this kind of engagement, and one of the things that we've seen around the country is that the social isolation has been hugely impactful in all the negative ways. People want to see each other. People want to take these masks off. We would love to be in rallies like Donald Trump is having if they were safe, if COVID was done, if we had crushed it, as a congressman said. Not as a way to super spread it, as he is doing in each and every state and each and every place that he's going. Every place that he is going. Just think about this moment. We've had a record of COVID infections yesterday. That was after 2 more records last week. And each and every place that Trump is going, you see an increase in infections. That is the opposite of what presidents should be. This is not ideological. This is not about Democrats or Republicans or independents. A president takes an oath of office to protect Americans, to protect people's health and safety, not to destroy it, not to be reckless about it, not to create divisions. That's something that actually helps protect others, like a mask he has made political. This is what we're up against. Think about it in terms of schools. Think about what has happened all across Florida. Fed, and Andrew, and others. When we took that lawsuit, the world was watching. And a lower court judge saw the impact of COVID on what was going on with schools, with communities, with parents, with teachers, with paraprofessionals, with kids, all throughout this state. And that lower court judge who saw the evidence said, we need to make this, as the congressman said, about local control. The localities, the elected school boards, need to make these decisions. Not when a Johanna Lopez makes a decision that the governor and the current, whoever he is, Corcoran, Secretary of Education here, overrides the concerns of a locality. And then won't even give us the funding that is necessary to open a school safely in a hybrid manner. The funding for masks, for ventilation, for cleaning, for hybrid learning. The ridiculousness, sorry, I was a high school social studies teacher. The ridiculousness. I'm saying this to the mic, and Mr. Corcoran, I hope you are listening to me. The ridiculousness of having or asking a teacher to teach kids in person who are all scared and anxious and need that eye-to-eye contact as we're all wearing our masks, and then at the same time trying to teach live stream? That is a recipe for disaster, which is what Betsy DeVos wants, because she wants public schools to fail. No wonder she has never, she's put out one piece of guidance, just one piece of guidance this entire time. One. That's after she tried to take $1 billion from public schools and give them to private schools. And what was that one piece of guidance? She told districts about a month ago that they would have to do standardized tests this year. Did she give us guidance for safety? Did she give us guidance for instruction? Did she say the CDC guidance has to be followed? Did she do anything that would help people, guide and help in the practice of teaching in a pandemic? No. Did she give us 1 cent of resources? No. Did she help pass the HEROES bill? No. She did nothing to help anyone who's sitting in this patio area. In fact, what she's tried to do is hurt us each and every day. Fed is right. She is the worst education secretary ever. And we vote Trump out, then we vote Betsy DeVos out. Trump wants this constant chaos. He wants people to be on edge. He wants the constant division. You see his advertisements when people are fighting to actually rectify the fact that a black man was murdered by police officers and trying to get justice. He shows the pictures of the anger and the angst when that doesn't happen. When people are trying to see their grandchildren, when people are trying to reduce the infection rate, he pretends that it doesn't exist or actually makes it worse by all of these rallies. When people are aghast at what is happening with kids at the border, Latino kids at the border whose parents, just like my grandparents, came from Ukraine for a better life here, whose parents tried to come across the border for a better life, and he imprisons those children and separates them from their parents. In a debate, he can't even look at the camera and spend 1 nanosecond feeling any emotion or consolation for the fact that these young kids may never see their parents again. Go on and on. This is what we're up against. And it's not just about voting him out. His chaos, his division, his hatred, his incompetence, frankly, his only caring about himself. But we actually have 2 people to vote for. In Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and I know both of them for a long time, this is not a second Obama administration. This will be an administration that respects public education, that understands the lived experience of teachers and paraprofessionals, and wants to help us help our children all throughout the country, regardless of the zip code our kids live in. This will be an administration who will take on burdensome student debt and who will offer up free college for people who need it and not do it at the expense of our adjuncts or our paras who are now not able to make a living on the salaries they have. This is an administration, will be an administration who understands that you must fight to defend the protection against pre-existing conditions because they have gone through pre-existing conditions. They know what it means to have insurance, and they're not going to let people pit those who have insurance with those who don't because they understand health care must be a right for all of us. This is and will be an administration who knows how to say the word union, who knows how to defend the right to organize, and who knows that we need to have power at a local level to help make sure we have the terms and conditions and the wages that you need to thrive and that our kids need to thrive. So we know what we're voting against, and we know what we're voting for. And the real issue, as Fed said and everyone else has said in these 4 days, is I wonder, why is it even close? But because it is, because many of Trump's followers live in an alternative reality. I'm not going to call it alternative facts because that's oxymoronic. They live in an alternative reality that is fed by Fox and others all the time. They actually believe that COVID is a hoax. They believe that we have enough money in terms of schools. You heard Jared Kushner about his disparaging comments about African Americans? It was disgusting. They believe this. it is only they who lifted up and climbed the ladder of success. They don't believe that we need to have that ladder. And they got a lot of people that follow them. But I'm going to say what I said in Tampa earlier today, which is there is a reason that they fight to suppress votes, that they're scared of people coming to the polls, particularly African Americans. There is a reason that they have fought to limit the kind of balloting all across the country, because they're scared of people coming to the votes. There's a reason why they hate us, whether it's because we're in unions or whether it's because we're educators. Because they know that people trust us. They know that people trust what we say, what everybody up here says, what everybody here says. And this is our challenge, my friends. And Fed said, I know people in Florida are tired. Andrew tells me all the time what all of you are up against. Fed, I see it in his face each and every day when I see him. What's going on here? But this is where, and we both use this metaphor sometimes. I used to be a runner. This is like the last few feet before you get to the end. You got to get to the end. You got to get through the end. You got to cut through the line. We're tired, but we can see it. I can tell you with conviction, and everything I know about politics is if we get the vote out in Florida, we win in Florida. And if we win in Florida, we're winning in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Wisconsin. And if we win in Florida, we will know the night of November 3rd that Joe Biden is president. We will. It's close. It's always close in Florida, but it's close. We have it in our hands, not just to vote. So Congressman said, I know all of you have voted, but it's how to get everybody else to vote. Everybody else we know. That one more step to the goal line, to the finish line, to get our friends out, to go through that old Rolodex and figure out who do you think you can get out. Every bit of it. If we believe in hope over fear, if we believe in fairness over despair and division, if we believe in community over chaos, if we believe in science over fiction, if we believe that this is the most important election of our lifetime, I'm asking you, get more people out to vote. Get them to the polls. Get them to early vote in the next 3 days and get them to the polls on November 3rd. And if we do this, we will win. We will win. If we vote, we will win. If we vote, we will win. If we vote, we will win. Thank you.
Thank you, President Weingarten. I have to ration how much news I watch because it physically depresses me if I get too much in it. And I really don't want my children growing up in the world that I see on TV. So to have you all here gives me hope. I hope that not only you show up here, but you do what they've spoken about. You understand the importance of this election. Not only do you vote, you go get someone else to vote. Because right now, we are making history. And we cannot sit on the sidelines and hope somebody else rides to the rescue. It is up to each of us to make this happen. Thank you all for coming out. I can't say enough. I have a great team that pulled all this together. We've got people from all over the country that made this thing happen. And I just want to thank you all for showing up. Let's go out and get this thing. It's not going to fall in our lap. We got to go get it.